A werewolf romance written by Joyce Meyer. Prologue. The day everything changed. 6 years before. I was 8 years old when I drowned. I remember sitting by the river that day, my hands trailing through the cold water. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the current pulling at my fingers, could hear it rushing over the rocks. The pack gathering was happening somewhere behind me, and as usual, I wasn't allowed to attend. You're an embarrassment. I didn't need to see my brother to know the hatred in his voice. Gonzalo always sounded like that when he spoke to me. I was 13 years old to his 18, but I'd learned not to react. Reactions only made things worse. I didn't ask to be born, I said quietly. Then let me fix Father's mistake. His hands slammed into my back before I could move. The water swallowed me whole. I tried to swim, but I'd never learned how. No one had bothered to teach the blind Omega girl. The current dragged me down, water filling my lungs. Cold surrounded me. Darkness deeper than my usual darkness. I was dying, and part of me thought, at least it'll be over. Then something massive crashed into me underwater, not drowning me, filling me. Silver light exploded behind my sightless eyes. A presence surged through my body, ancient and powerful and furious. Live, breathe, you are chosen. My body convulsed. Power I'd never possessed flooded through me. I broke the surface gasping, dragged myself to shore with impossible strength. When I collapsed on the muddy bank, I wasn't alone anymore. Inside my head, a voice spoke. I am Celine, and you, little one, are mine now. I passed out on the riverbank, my brother's terrified face the last thing I sensed before darkness took me. That same day, the royal palace. I wouldn't learn this until years later, but that day, 6-year-old Prince Dorotheos stopped crying over his mother's death. His wolf, newly awakened by Luna Selini's passing, turned toward something in the distance. Mama's not gone, the boy whispered. She's just somewhere else. Waiting. No one heard him. They were too busy grieving. Chapter 1. The Invisible Omega. Present day, 14 years later. They called me the Ghost Omega. Not because I was dead, though many wished I were, but because I'd learned to exist without being seen. I woke before dawn, like always, my hands finding the edges of my thin mattress by memory. The Omega quarters in our pack house were small and cold, but they were mine. Or as mine as anything could be when you owned nothing. Inside my mind, the wolf stirred. After 14 years, I still thought of her as separate from me. Celine's wolf, the presence that had saved my life and changed everything about me, yet changed nothing about how others saw me. Soon, the wolf whispered. He's coming soon. Who's coming? I asked the empty room. No answer. There never was. Just feelings, impressions. Occasional flashes of memories that weren't mine. A man's face, a baby's cry. Love so fierce it hurt. I dressed by touch, my fingers knowing every thread of the simple servant's dress. In the kitchens, I worked in silence. My hands knew where every pot hung, every ingredient lived. I could cook an entire meal without seeing a single thing. The other Omegas avoided me. Something about me unsettled them. My eyes, they said. The way they sometimes glowed faint silver in certain light. Isadora. I turned toward my brother's voice. Alpha Gonzalo now. Our father had died 2 years ago, leaving him in charge. Leaving me even more vulnerable than before. The Alpha King visits in 3 days. Everything must be perfect. His voice dropped to a threatening whisper. Stay out of sight. If you embarrass this pack, I'll finish what I started at that river. 14 years later, and the threat still worked. I nodded, made myself smaller, invisible. But inside, Celine's wolf surged with an emotion I'd never felt from her before. Recognition. He's coming. My son. My mate. I couldn't breathe. The Alpha King. After 14 years of silence, The wolf finally told me why she'd chosen me. I had 3 days to decide if I was brave enough to find out what that meant. Chapter 2. The King Who Forgot to Live. I didn't meet Alpha King Marinos on the day he arrived. I was hidden in the back kitchens, working silently while the pack put on their best performance. But I felt him the moment he entered the territory. The mate bond. I'd heard of it, of course. Every wolf knew about the sacred connection between destined mates, but I'd never expected to feel it. Omegas like me didn't get mate bonds with Alpha Kings. We got neglect and abuse and early deaths. Yet there it was, pulling at something deep in my chest. A rope tied to my sternum, stretching across the pack house toward wherever he was. Selena's wolf was going wild inside me. 14 years of relative calm shattered by desperate clawing need. Images flooded my mind, memories that weren't mine. A younger version of the king, smiling. A baby being born. Then darkness and cold, and a woman's last words. Promise me you'll love again. Isadora, you're burning the sauce! I jerked back to reality, pulling the pot off the fire. My hands were shaking, glowing faint silver. Sorry, I whispered. The Omega next to me gave me a suspicious look, but said nothing. Everyone had learned to avoid asking questions about the ghost Omega's strangeness. I made it through the feast preparation. Made it through serving time, keeping to the shadows. I knew every hallway in this pack house, by touch and memory. I could navigate in complete darkness better than most wolves could in daylight. That's probably why I didn't hear the boy until we collided. Wine spilled. I gasped, reaching for the wall to steady myself. It's you! The voice was young, odd. I sensed him in front of me, small for an alpha, no more than 12 or 13. But his wolf's presence was powerful. And inside me, Selena's wolf surged with such fierce mother love that tears sprang to my eyes. You have her, the boy whispered. You have my mother's wolf. My hand found the wall, gripping hard. I don't understand. Her name was Selene. She died when I was born. But her wolf didn't die with her, did it? It went into you. He was crying. I could hear it in his voice. I've been looking for you my whole life. Before I could respond, something happened that I still can't fully explain. Selene's wolf took partial control, just for a moment. My hand reached out, found the boy's face with impossible accuracy. When I spoke, it was with 2 voices. My son. My beautiful son. You've grown so much. The boy, Dorotheos I would learn, threw his arms around me. What is the meaning of this? The new voice was deep, commanding, and it sent the mate bond vibrating through my entire body. Alpha King Marinos. And he sounded furious. I pulled back from Dorotheos, my hands finding the wall again, making myself small, invisible. But it was too late. I'd been seen. Father, it's her, Dorotheos said. Mother's wolf chose her. I told you I felt something. Step away from that servant. Each word was ice. Now! Behind the king, I heard my brother's voice, panic barely concealed. Your Majesty, I apologize for my sister's... sister. The word hung in the air. I felt the king's attention shift to me, reassessing. Your sister? The king's voice was dangerous. Explain. She's blind, Your Majesty. Omega, she works in the kitchens. I don't know what she said to the prince, but she didn't say anything, Dorotheos interrupted. She has Mother's wolf. I can feel it. My wolf recognizes her. Silence, then footsteps approaching me. I pressed harder against the wall. Look at me. I turned my face toward the king's voice. Not that it mattered. I couldn't see him anyway. Your eyes, he said, his voice strange. They're silver, Gonzalo finished. She's always been wrong, since a childhood accident. Not an accident, I heard myself say. He pushed me into the river, tried to kill me. That's when she came to me, when Selene's wolf chose me. The silence that followed was deafening. Chapter 3. The Interrogation. They brought me to a private room. My brother hovered nearby, radiating fear. Dorotheos refused to leave my side, his small hand gripping mine like a lifeline. And Alpha King Marinos sat across from me, his presence overwhelming even though I couldn't see him. "Tell me everything," he commanded. So I did. The drowning, the silver light, the voice in my head. 14 years of Selena's wolf living inside me, showing me fragments of memories, giving me glimpses of a life I'd never lived. When I finished, the king was silent for a long moment. "Prove it," he finally said. "How?" "If you carry my mate's wolf, tell me something only Selene would know." Fear gripped me. What if I got it wrong? What if the memories weren't real? But Selene's wolf pushed forward, feeding me images, feelings, words. "She called you her storm," I whispered. "Because your eyes were gray like thunderclouds. She said when you laughed, which wasn't often, it was like sunlight breaking through. I heard the king's sharp intake of breath. She wanted 3 children. You only wanted 1. You argued about it the night before she went into labor." My voice cracked. Her last words. She asked you to promise you'd love again. That Dorotheos needed a mother? You never answered her. "That's impossible. No one else was in that room. Only Selene and I. Her wolf remembers." I hugged myself. I don't know why this happened to me. I don't want to intrude on your grief, but I can't control what I am. "My wolf knows she's real," Dorotheos said fiercely. "He's been drawn to her since we arrived. He wants—" The boy looked between us. "He chose her. For you, father. As your mate." The king's chair scraped back violently. "That's impossible. She's—" He stopped himself, but I knew what he was going to say. "Omega. Blind. Nobody. She's the one who carries Mother's spirit," Dorotheos continued. "Don't you feel it? The bond?" The king did feel it. I could sense his wolf's response through our connection. Hunger, recognition, fear. "No." His voice was final. "She's clearly disturbed. Keep her confined for observation. We'd leave at dawn." "Father, the discussion is over." After the king left, my brother grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. "Whatever game you're playing, whatever trick, stay away from the royal family, or I'll make sure you disappear permanently." That night, locked in a storage room, I listened to Selene's wolf howl inside my mind. Grief and longing and frustration. Her mate was so close, but he couldn't see past his pain. And I was still just the invisible Omega, despite everything. Chapter 4. The Desperate Measure. They didn't leave at dawn, because Dorotheos collapsed. I heard the commotion, running feet, shouted orders, the king's voice rough with panic. Through our bond, I felt the prince's distress. His wolf was going feral, trapped between 2 impossible needs, his father and his mother's spirit. Hours passed. I paced my small prison, listening to updates from servants passing by. The prince was dying. Nothing the healers tried was working. Then footsteps approached my door. It opened, and Beta Theron's voice said, "The king wants you." They brought me to Dorotheos's room. The boy was burning with fever, his small body shaking. I could smell sickness, and fear, and desperation. "He keeps asking for you," the king said. His voice was ragged. "The healers think being near you might help." "Or make it worse," someone muttered. I ignored them and moved toward the bed, my hands finding Dorotheos's face. The moment I touched him, Selene's wolf surged forward, not taking control, just channeling something through me. Power, life force, mother love made tangible. Silver light filled the room. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. Felt Dorotheos's breathing ease, his fever break. When I pulled back, exhausted, the boy was sleeping peacefully. "What did you do?" the king demanded. "It wasn't me. It was her. Selene's wolf. She's protecting her child." Silence. Then, "You're coming with us. To the palace." "What?" "My son needs you near. Whatever this is." He struggled with the words. "You'll be under royal protection. Housed in the palace. No one will harm you. Including my brother," he meant. Gonzalo made a sound of protest, but quickly silenced himself under the king's glare. "And if I refuse?" I asked. "Then my son dies. Is that what Seleni's wolf wants?" It was manipulation, but it was also truth. "I'll come." I had nothing to pack, no one to say goodbye to. I'd been invisible for 22 years. As we prepared to leave, my brother cornered me one last time. "You think you've won? You're going as a nursemaid, a curiosity. The moment he's done with you, you'll be discarded. You're still nothing, sister." His words hurt because part of me believed them, but I climbed into the carriage with Dorotheos anyway. The boy held my hand like I was the most precious thing in the world, and through the window, I felt the king watching us, fighting a bond he didn't want with every fiber of his being. This was either the beginning of something or the biggest mistake of my life. Chapter 5. The Palace of Whispers. The palace overwhelmed me. Too many sounds, too many smells, too many people. They gave me a room near Dorotheos's quarters, over many objections from advisors who thought an Omega didn't belong so close to royalty. The room was bigger than my entire living space back home. The bed was soft. The clothes they brought me were finer than anything I'd ever touched. I ate 3 meals a day for the first time in my life, but the king avoided me completely. I felt him through the mate bond. Sometimes he was close, just down the hall maybe, or in the courtyard below. The pull would intensify, my wolf responding to his. Then he'd leave abruptly, and the bond would stretch painful and taut across the palace. He was fighting it. Fighting me. Dorotheos became my constant companion. He showed me around the palace, narrating everything so I could build a mental map. We talked for hours. He told me about his mother, his lonely childhood, his distant father. "He's not a bad man," Dorotheos said one day. "He's just broken." He loved Mother so much that losing her broke something inside him. "I know," I said softly. Because through Seleni's wolf, I did know. I carried echoes of that love. "He feels the bond," Dorotheos continued. "I can tell. His wolf wants you, but he thinks accepting you means betraying Mother's memory." "Does it?" "Mother would hate him being this miserable. She made him promise to love again. But he's too stubborn to keep that promise." I met Lady Octavia that week, a widowed duchess, beautiful and ambitious, who'd been angling to become the king's second mate for years. She saw me as a threat immediately. "You're the boy's... what? Companion?" Her voice dripped false sweetness. "I'm here for Dorotheos," I said quietly. How quaint. We all have our place, don't we? Yours is quite humble for palace standards. I learned to navigate her subtle cruelty, the way she'd accidentally leave things in my path, the way she'd speak just quietly enough that I'd have to ask her to repeat herself, the way she made sure I knew I didn't belong. But the worst was the king's silence. One evening, Dorotheos insisted his father join us for dinner. It was torture. The king spoke in clipped sentences, never directly to me. When Dorotheos asked him something about palace history, he answered in detail. When I asked a question, I got one-word responses. "Why won't you talk to her?" Dorotheos finally demanded. "We're talking now." "No, you're speaking at her. You won't even try." "Enough." The king stood. "I have matters to attend to." After he left, I touched Dorotheos' shoulder. "He's not ready. Mother's wolf chose you. His wolf wants you. Why is he being so stubborn?" "Because loving again feels like betrayal," I said. I understood this because Seleni's wolf had shown me. "And because if you say just an Omega, I'll be very disappointed." I smiled despite myself. "You're a good person, Dorotheos." He'll see your worth eventually, the boy said confidently. He has to. But I wasn't sure. Maybe my brother was right. Maybe I was just here until Dorotheos was fully healed. Then I'd be sent away. That night, alone in my room, Selena's wolf showed me a memory. Marinos and Selene in bed years ago, her making him promise to let himself be happy again. Him promising, never believing he'd need to keep that promise. I understood then. The king wasn't avoiding me out of hate. He was avoiding me out of guilt. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd stop hiding. Stop being invisible. Even if it terrified me, I'd try to show him I wasn't a replacement for Selene. I was something else entirely. Someone who might love him if he'd let me. Chapter 6. The First Connection. I found the king in the training yard. Dorotheos had told me this was where he went to exhaust himself, to quiet his wolf through violence and sweat. I walked across the yard alone. Conversations stopped. I heard the sounds of sparring cease as people noticed the blind Omega walking through their space. I need to speak with you, I said toward where I heard his breathing. I'm busy. I'll wait. He continued sparring. I stood there silent and patient. Minutes passed. Other warriors filtered away, sensing this wasn't something they should witness. Finally, what do you want? To tell you something Selene showed me. I took a breath for courage. You made her a promise. The night before she died. His sword point hit the ground. What? You promised you'd let yourself be happy again. She made you say the words. How could you possibly know that? That was private. Her wolf remembers. And she wants you to know. Keeping your promise isn't betraying her. Breaking it is. He closed the distance between us fast enough that I felt the air move. You think you can use her memories to manipulate me? To force some bond I never asked for? I didn't retreat. I was done retreating. I don't want to manipulate you. I can't control what I am or what happened to me. But I'm tired of being punished for it. By you. By everyone. My voice shook, but I pushed on. Selene's wolf chose me. Your son's wolf chose me for you. I didn't ask for any of it. But I'm here now, and you can either keep running, or you can face what's between us. What's between us is a dead woman's ghost. No, what's between us is a bond. A real one. And you're terrified of it because it's not the same as what you had with Selene. But it was never supposed to be the same. I'm not her replacement. I'm just me. Then go, leave the palace. And let Dorotheos die? I shook my head. You don't mean that. Silence. We both knew I was right. What do you want from me? His voice was raw. Nothing you're not willing to give. But stop punishing me for being what I am. Stop punishing yourself for feeling what you feel. And stop punishing your son for wanting a complete family. I can't be what you need. I don't need you to be anything. I just need you to stop running. More silence. Then I felt his hand on my chin, tipping my face up. It was the first time he'd touched me since that night with Dorotheos. You're brave, he said quietly. Braver than I've been. I'm terrified, I admitted. So am I. It was the most honest we'd been with each other. The mate bond hummed between us, finally acknowledged even if not accepted. I can't promise this will work, he said. I'm not asking for promises. Just a chance. He nodded. I felt the movement. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't rejection either. For the first time in 3 weeks, I felt hope. Chapter 7. The Assassination. Things changed after that day. Slowly, carefully. The king ate dinner with us more often. He spoke to me, actually spoke, not just commands. He asked about my life before, listened to my answers. The bond strengthened gradually, too slowly for some. 3 days after our conversation in the training yard, I was walking the palace gardens. I'd learned the paths well enough to navigate them alone. The gardens were peaceful, full of scents and sounds that helped me orient myself. I didn't hear the assassin until his blade cut through the air. Celine's wolf screamed a warning a heartbeat before impact. I dodged, but not fast enough. The blade sliced my arm. I screamed. The assassin moved in for the kill. Then I heard something I'd never heard before. The sound of a man shifting mid-run. Windows shattering. A wolf's snarl so vicious it raised the hair on my arms. What followed was brutal. I couldn't see it, but I heard it. Heard the assassin's screams cut short. Heard the sound of tearing flesh. Heard the king's wolf's fury made manifest. Then warm arms surrounded me, and the king's voice, ragged with fear. "You're safe. I have you. You're safe." For the first time in my life, I let myself collapse into someone. Into him. Guards arrived. Beta Theron took charge. They found evidence linking the assassin to an outside hire, but no proof of who paid him yet. In the healing rooms, the king wouldn't leave my side. His hand gripped mine while healers stitched my wound. The mate bond blazed between us, impossible to ignore now. "I felt you," he said hoarsely. "Your fear. Through the bond. I was in a council meeting across the palace, and suddenly I felt you dying. My wolf took over. I've never lost control like that. Thank you for coming. I'll always come." He said it like a vow. Always. That night, after the healers left, we talked. Really talked. About Celine, about his grief, about his fear of loving again, about my years of abuse, my fear of never being enough. "When I saw you bleeding," he said, "I realized something. The bond isn't just something I can ignore. And even if I could, I don't want to anymore." "Why not?" "Because you make me feel alive again. Because when I thought I'd lost you, the pain was worse than anything I've felt since Celine died. Because my wolf is screaming that you're mine, and for the first time in 6 years, I want to listen." "What changed?" "You. The way you stood up to me in the training yard. The way you're kind to my son. The way you're brave, even when you're terrified." He squeezed my hand. "The way you're exactly what we need, even if you don't see it yet. I'm still blind. Still Omega. Still magnificent," he interrupted. "And if you'll have me, I want to try. Really try. Not fighting the bond, not running. But I need to know you want this too. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because you choose it." My heart hammered. "I choose it. Then let me mark you. Accept the bond properly. The claiming mark, sacred and permanent. A declaration that we were mates in truth." "Are you sure?" I whispered. "I've never been less sure of anything, but I'm doing it anyway." I tipped my head, exposing my neck. "Then claim me." The bite was sharp, possessive. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Silver light exploded between us. Celine's wolf blessing the union. For one impossible moment I could see, actually see. Through his eyes, through the bond. I saw his face, fierce, determined, awed. Saw the silver light surrounding us. Saw myself for the first time in 14 years. Then the vision faded, and I was blind again. But I wasn't alone. I was his. He was mine. From the doorway, Dorotheos's voice. Finally. And despite everything, the pain, the fear, the uncertainty, I smiled. Chapter 8. The Luna Ceremony. 2 weeks later, they announced my Luna Ceremony. The palace erupted in preparation and controversy. Many wolves believed an Omega couldn't be Luna, that I wasn't worthy, that it was an insult to Celine's memory. I heard the whispers, felt the disapproval, and I was terrified. "I can't do this," I told the king 3 days before the ceremony. "I'm going to fail in front of everyone." "You won't fail." "How can you say that? I can't even walk into a room without counting steps. I can't see threats. I can't... You survived being drowned by your own brother. You lived 22 years carrying a Luna's spirit inside you. You walked into this palace knowing you'd be judged. You're the strongest person I know." "I'm terrified." Being terrified doesn't mean being weak. It means you're brave enough to do it anyway. He pulled me close. You'll be magnificent. Dorotheos created a plan to help me through the ceremony. Beta Theron drilled me on the steps until I could do them in my sleep. Even palace servants offered encouragement. The ceremony day arrived. I stood before my mirror while Dorotheos described my appearance. Beautiful gown, hair adorned with silver, the claiming mark visible and proud. You look like a Luna, he said. I feel like I'm going to vomit. Mother did too. I took a deep breath and walked toward my future. The great hall was packed. Hundreds of wolves assembled. I felt their attention like weight on my shoulders. The ceremony proceeded. I recited vows I'd memorized, accepted symbols of my new role. Then came the ceremonial chalice. As I reached for it, Selena's wolf screamed inside my mind. I dropped the chalice. It shattered. Dark liquid spread across white stone, and where it touched, the stone hissed and pitted. Poison. Chaos erupted. They found Lady Octavia packing to flee. Under interrogation, she confessed everything. She'd wanted me dead before the bond could be finalized. Wanted the king for herself. She's not worthy, Octavia screamed when they arrested her. An Omega? Blind? She's a mockery. Selene's wolf chose her, the king said coldly. Who are you to question that? They imprisoned Octavia, found evidence linking her to Alpha Dimitri, a rival who'd been plotting against the throne. He fled before they could capture him. That evening, in a smaller, private ceremony, they completed the ritual. I drank from an untainted chalice, spoke my vows, accepted my crown. I was officially Luna. But someone had tried to kill me during my own ceremony. The victory felt bittersweet. What if next time they succeed? I asked that night. Then I'll burn the world down looking for them, the king said. But it won't come to that. I'll teach you to protect yourself. The next morning he began training me in combat. I was blind, but Selena's wolf had given me enhanced senses. I could fight by sound, scent, vibration. I was done being helpless. Chapter 9. The Luna finds her power. 3 months into my rule, I began to understand what it meant to be Luna. My blindness, which I'd always seen as a weakness, became my greatest strength. Because I couldn't see, I truly listened. Pack members brought me disputes, and I heard what they weren't saying. I solved problems others missed because I wasn't distracted by appearances or status. I advocated for Omegas, for the weak, for those overlooked. The lower ranks loved me for it. The upper ranks learned to respect me. One day, a pack delegation arrived with a border dispute. They were dismissive at first, directing all comments to the king. I handled it brilliantly, citing precedent, finding compromise, showing strength without aggression. They left impressed. You're a natural, the king said afterward. I'm terrified every time. That's what makes you good. Our relationship deepened beyond the mate bond. We talked late into the night about kingdom matters. He sought my counsel, valued my input. I challenged him when he was too harsh. He grounded me when I doubted. We were partners. But then Dorotheos, now 13 and thriving, started having disturbing dreams about his mother. Not Selene the Luna, but Selene the wolf inside me. She's restless, he told me. Something's wrong. I'd felt it too. Selene's wolf was becoming agitated, showing me fragmented visions I didn't understand. A dark forest. A trapped wolf. The name Dimitri repeated. Through research and meditation, we discovered the truth. Selene's wolf was stuck between worlds because of unfinished business. When I opened myself completely to the wolf's memories, I finally saw it. Selene's death hadn't been natural. She'd been poisoned during her pregnancy. Slowly, subtly, over months. By someone who wanted the king vulnerable. Alpha Dimitri. She can't rest until her murderer is brought to justice. I whispered to the king when I told him. That's why she stayed. That's why she chose me. To protect Dorotheos, guide you to love again, and expose the truth. The king's expression was cold fury. Then we hunt. Chapter 10. The Trap. We investigated carefully, found evidence linking Dmitri to payments made around the time of Celine's pregnancy. The healer who'd attended her death finally admitted the symptoms had been consistent with poisoning. Dmitri had wanted the king vulnerable. A grieving king was easier to manipulate than a happy one with a strong Luna. We devised a trap. I would travel to a border territory for Luna duties, appear vulnerable, give Dmitri an opening. Too dangerous, the king said. We need to end this. For Selene, for Dorotheos, for us. If anything happens to you, it won't. I touched the weapons I'd learned to wield. I'm not helpless anymore. I traveled with minimal visible guard. The king's best warriors trailed in secret. The second night, I waited in my tent, listening. Around midnight, I heard guards being drugged, intruders entering. I was ready. The blind Luna, Dimitri's voice whispered. Alone. How convenient. Not as alone as you think, I replied. I moved fast, fighting in darkness that gave me the advantage. But Dmitri had brought assassins. I was being overwhelmed when the king arrived, having stayed closer than planned. The fight ended with Dmitri captured. Why kill Selene? The king demanded, blade at Dimitri's throat. She made you strong. I needed you weak. I'd do it again. Before the king could kill him, I stepped forward. Selene's wolf surged through me, and two voices spoke. You took me from my son, from my mate, from my life. Dmitri paled. You're dead. A mother's love is eternal, and a Luna's vengeance is absolute. I channeled Selena's power into Dmitri, not killing him. That would be too quick. Instead, I stripped away his wolf spirit, leaving him human, powerless. He screamed as his wolf was torn away. They imprisoned him. Justice was served. That night, Selena's wolf settled peacefully inside me. Her purpose was fulfilled. In my dreams, she appeared, massive, silver, beautiful. You've been my vessel. Thank you. Are you leaving? It's time to move on, but I give you a choice. I can leave completely, or I can merge with you. My power becomes yours permanently. What do you want me to choose? What do you want? I thought about it. I'd grown to love Selene through the wolf's memories, but I'd also finally become my own person. I want to be myself, I said, completely. No more borrowed power. Is that selfish? It's honest. And brave. You don't need my power anymore. You've found your own. Will he still want me? Without you? He loved me. He loves you. Those are different loves, both real. Be happy. All of you. I woke feeling lighter. The presence that had lived inside me for 14 years was gone. I was just me now. The king woke beside me, immediately sensing the change. What happened? She's gone. She moved on. His face showed grief and relief both. Are you? I'm fine. I'm me. I touched his face. Just me. Is that enough? He kissed me deeply. It's everything. Dorotheos came to our room at dawn. We held each other, grieving and grateful at once. Selena was finally at peace, and we could finally move forward. Chapter 11. Finding My Own Strength. Without Selene's wolf, everything changed. The morning after she left, I woke feeling empty, not just emotionally, physically. The presence that had lived inside me for 14 years was gone, and the absence was like losing a limb. I got out of bed and immediately stumbled. Without the wolf's enhanced senses, I was just blind again. Completely, utterly blind. I'd forgotten how much I'd relied on her subtle guidance. The king caught me before I fell. Easy. I can't, my voice cracked. I can't sense anything. The room feels different, smaller, or maybe I'm just weaker now. "You're not weak." But I felt weak. For 14 years, Celine's wolf had given me an edge. Now I was just a blind Omega who'd somehow become Luna. And everyone was about to see the truth. The first test came that afternoon. A delegation from the Eastern Packs arrived with a border dispute. They were aggressive, testing the new Luna's resolve. With Celine's wolf, I would have sensed their intentions, felt the threat before they voiced it. Now I sat on my throne and heard only words. I couldn't read the room the way I used to. "Luna Isadora," the lead alpha said, his tone dripping false respect. "We've come because our eastern border has been encroached upon by the Northern Pack. We demand justice." I started to respond, but another alpha interrupted. "The Northern Pack claims the land was always theirs. This dispute has festered for generations. We need decisive action." Without Celine's memories to guide me, without her wisdom about pack history, I floundered. "I'll need to review the territorial records before making a ruling." "The records?" The first alpha's voice sharpened. "Luna Selene would have known the history by heart. She would have ruled immediately." The words hit like a physical blow. He was right. Selene would have known. But I didn't. "I am not Luna Selene," I said quietly. "I'll review the records and make a fair ruling within 3 days." After they left, I heard the whispers. They weren't even trying to be quiet. "She's lost without the wolf." Maybe she was never truly Luna material. An Omega playing at being Luna. Now we see the truth. I made it to my chambers before breaking down. The king found me there, tears streaming down my face. "They're right," I said. "I was only strong because of Selena's wolf. Without her, I'm just... Stop!" He gripped my shoulders. "You survived your brother trying to murder you before Selene ever came. You endured 22 years of abuse and didn't break. You walked into this palace knowing you'd be judged and did it anyway. The courage, the intelligence, the heart, that was always you. But I don't know pack history. I can't sense threats. I can't... So you'll learn, like everyone else learns." He tilted my face up. "Selene wasn't born knowing everything. She studied. She made mistakes. She grew into her role. And so will you. What if I can't? Then you'll fail. And you'll get up and try again. That's what makes a true Luna. Not perfection, but perseverance." His words helped, but they didn't erase the fear. That night I lay awake, listening to the palace sounds around me. Without Selene's wolf, every noise felt threatening. Every shadow deeper. I'd spent 14 years feeling less alone. Now I was alone again, and I had to figure out how to be enough. The next morning, I summoned Beta Theron to my chambers. "I need your help," I said. "I need to learn everything about pack law, territorial history, diplomatic precedents. Everything Selena would have known." "That will take months, Luna." "Then we start now. I have 3 days to rule on this border dispute, but I have years ahead of me as Luna. I can't keep stumbling through every crisis." Theron studied me for a moment. "Luna Selena asked me the same thing when she first arrived. She was terrified she wasn't good enough. She was. Everyone is terrified at first. The difference between a good Luna and a great one isn't confidence. It's the willingness to admit what you don't know and learn it." He smiled. "You'll do fine." For the next 3 days, I barely slept. Theron brought me records, read them aloud, helped me understand the complex history of pack relationships. I learned about the eastern border dispute, how it had started over a century ago, how both sides had valid claims, how previous Lunas had tried and failed to resolve it. By the 3rd day, I had an answer. Not perfect, but fair. When the delegation returned, I delivered my ruling with confidence I didn't entirely feel. Both packs have legitimate historical claims to the disputed territory. Therefore, the land will be divided equally, with a neutral zone in the center that both packs may use for hunting, but neither may claim exclusively. Any pack that violates this agreement will forfeit their portion entirely. Silence. Then the Eastern Alpha spoke. "That's actually fair." "It's more than fair. the Northern representative said. It's wise. We accept. After they left, Theron approached me. Well done, Luna. I was terrified the entire time. I know, but you didn't show it. That's the skill. Over the following weeks, I threw myself into learning. I studied pack law until I could recite precedents from memory. I developed relationships with key advisors, building my own network instead of relying on Selena's old connections. I created a system for gathering information that didn't rely on supernatural senses, a network of trusted servants and guards who reported to me directly. I also returned to combat training with renewed focus. Without Selene's wolf to enhance my reflexes, I had to be smarter. I learned to use my opponent's strength against them, to fight dirty when necessary, to turn my blindness into an advantage by fighting in darkness, or with my eyes closed, conditions that leveled the playing field. 3 months after Selena's departure, another crisis emerged. A neighboring pack's alpha had died, and 2 heirs were fighting for succession. It threatened to spill into civil war that could destabilize the entire region. The king wanted to intervene militarily. I suggested a different approach. Let me go, I said. Let me mediate. It's too dangerous. Everything is dangerous, but military intervention will only breed resentment. If I can negotiate peace, both heirs keep their pride, and we avoid bloodshed. He didn't like it, but he agreed. I traveled to the disputed territory with a small guard. The 2 heirs, both alpha males, both convinced they deserved to rule, met me with barely concealed contempt. The blind Luna comes to lecture us on leadership? One sneered. I come to offer a solution, I said calmly. You both believe you deserve to lead. You're both probably right. You're both your father's sons, both trained for this role. Then you agree the pack should be split, the other said. No, a split pack is a weak pack. I'm suggesting you rule together. They both started talking at once, refusing the idea. I let them argue for a moment, then raised my hand. Your father ruled for 30 years. Did he do everything alone? No, the first heir admitted. He had advisors, a beta, a council. Exactly. No alpha rules alone. So why should you? I leaned forward. One of you excels at military strategy, the other at diplomacy and trade. Your father was good at both, but you each inherited different strengths. Together you'd be stronger than he was. Divided, you'll both fail. It took hours of negotiation, but eventually they agreed. Co-leadership. Each would handle what they did best. Major decisions would be made jointly, and if they couldn't agree, I would serve as final arbiter. When I returned to the palace, the king was waiting. You did it, he said, wonder in his voice. You actually did it. Did you doubt me? No, I'm proud of you. That wasn't Selene's wisdom. That was yours. His pride meant everything. But more important was my own realization. I'd done this. Me. Not Selene's ghost. Not borrowed power. Just Isadora, using my own mind, my own skills. I was finally becoming the Luna I was meant to be. Not Selene's replacement. Not a poor imitation. Something entirely my own. That night, lying in bed beside the king, I finally felt at peace with who I was. I miss her sometimes, I admitted. Selene's wolf, the strength she gave me. But you're stronger now, he said. Because this strength is yours. No one can take it away. He was right. And for the first time since Selene's wolf left, I believed I could do this. I could be Luna. Not despite losing the wolf, but because of everything I'd learned since. I was enough. Finally, completely, I was enough. Chapter 12. The Brothers Return. 6 months after Selene's departure, a messenger arrived at the palace gates asking for an audience with Luna Isadora. The messenger wouldn't give a name, but something in the way he delivered the request made Beta Theron bring it directly to me. The petitioner claims to be family, Theron said carefully. He's been working in the border territories, says he needs to speak with you privately. My heart sank. I knew who it was before Theron confirmed it. "It's your brother, Luna, Gonzalo." The king wanted to refuse him entry. Dorotheos, now 14 and fiercely protective of me, wanted him arrested on sight for his past crimes. But I surprised them both. "Let him come." "Isadora," the king started. "I need to face him. Not as the frightened girl he tried to kill, but as who I am now." I took a breath. Besides, if I can't show mercy to my own blood, how can I ask it of others? They agreed reluctantly. The meeting was arranged for my private receiving room, with guards stationed outside. When Gonzalo entered, I barely recognized his scent. The arrogance was gone. He moved differently, smaller, humbler. The entitled alpha male I'd grown up with had been replaced by someone I didn't know. He knelt immediately. "Luna." "Gonzalo." I kept my voice neutral. Long silence. I waited, letting him speak first, letting him work for whatever he'd come here seeking. "I came to tell you something," he finally said, his voice cracked. "Something I've been working up the courage to say for months." "Go on." "When Father died and I became Alpha, I thought I'd finally gotten everything I deserved. The pack, the power, the respect. But within weeks, wolves started leaving. They remembered how I'd treated you, how cruel I'd been. Word spread about the blind Omega sister I'd abused for years." He paused. "By the time you became Luna, half the pack was gone. The ones who stayed, they didn't respect me. They feared me, maybe, but they didn't respect me." I said nothing, just listened. 6 months ago, the pack challenged me. They voted to remove me as Alpha, said I wasn't fit to lead. And they were right. His voice broke completely. "I lost everything, Isadora. My title, my pack, my pride. I've been working as a laborer in the border territories. Manual work. The kind of work I used to mock others for doing. Is this an apology, or a request for mercy? I don't know." He sounded lost. "Maybe both. Maybe neither. The truth is, I came because I needed you to know. I see it now. What I did to you. All those years. I told myself you were weak, that you deserved the treatment you got. But you were never weak. I was." Tears were streaming down my face, but my voice stayed steady. "You pushed me into that river. You wanted me to die. I know. You spent 22 years making me believe I was worthless, that I was a burden, a mistake. I know. You nearly killed me a dozen times through cruelty and neglect. I know." He was sobbing now. "I know, and I can't take it back. I can't undo any of it. But I needed you to know I see it. I see what I was, what I did. And I'm sorry, even though sorry doesn't begin to cover it." I stood and walked toward him, counting steps the way I always did. When I reached him, I stopped. "Look at me, Gonzalo." He did. I felt his gaze on my face. "I could have you executed. Attempted murder of royalty warrants death. I know. I could have you tortured. Make you suffer the way you made me suffer. I would deserve it. Yes," I said clearly. "You would. But that's what you would do. Punish the weak, the broken, the ones who couldn't fight back. I'm not you." Hope flickered in his voice. "Then what? You'll work here. In the palace. Not as family. As a servant. You'll work in the kitchens, the stables, wherever we need you. You'll see what it's like to be overlooked, dismissed, treated as less than. You'll live what I lived." He nodded, accepting. "And, Gonzalo, if I hear one word about you mistreating any servant, any Omega, anyone in a position beneath you, I won't show you mercy again. Do you understand?" "Yes, Luna." "I don't forgive you," I said quietly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm giving you a chance. What you do with it is up to you." After he left, the king came in. He'd been listening from an adjoining room. "That was generous of you," he said. "Was it? Or was it selfish?" I sat down heavily. Part of me wanted to make him suffer. Really suffer. But that would make me like him. And I've spent my whole life trying not to be like him. You gave him what no one gave you. A chance. Maybe. Or maybe I just wanted to prove I'm better than him. I shook my head. I don't know if I did the right thing. Mercy is never the wrong thing, the king said, pulling me close. Even when it's hard. Over the following weeks, I watched Gonzalo work. Truly watched through my network of servants who reported his behavior to me. He worked hard, kept his head down, treated others with respect. One day, I was walking through the kitchens and overheard him talking to a young Omega servant who'd dropped a tray. "It's all right," Gonzalo said gently. "I've broken 3 this week. Here, let me help you clean up." The Omega looked shocked. Alphas didn't help Omegas clean up messes. "Thank you," she whispered. "No need to thank me. We all make mistakes." I walked away before he noticed me, but something had shifted in my chest. Maybe people could change. Maybe even Gonzalo could become someone different than who he was. I still didn't forgive him. Forgiveness would take time, if it came at all. But I could live with giving him the chance to earn it. 2 months after Gonzalo arrived, something unexpected happened. A visiting pack alpha was being cruel to his Omega servant, berating her in public, threatening to strike her. Gonzalo stepped in. "That's not how we treat pack members here," Gonzalo said firmly. The alpha rounded on him. "And who are you to lecture me? A servant?" "Yes, a servant who learned the hard way, that how you treat those beneath you defines who you are." Gonzalo positioned himself between the alpha and the Omega. "In this palace, we don't abuse Omegas. If you can't respect that, you should leave." The alpha started to argue, but palace guards intervened. The situation was diffused. Later, the young Omega servant found Gonzalo in the kitchens. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "You could have been hurt." "Because someone needed to," Gonzalo said simply. "And because a very long time ago, no one stood up for someone who needed it. I can't change the past, but I can do better now." When I heard about the incident, I called Gonzalo to my receiving room. "You defended that Omega," I said without preamble. "Yes, Luna." "Why?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because I saw you in her. The way she flinched when he raised his voice. The way she tried to make herself smaller. I've seen that so many times before, when you were young, when you were terrified. I put that fear in you, and I can't take it back. But maybe I can make sure other Omegas don't experience it." For the first time since he'd arrived, I felt something other than anger or hurt. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something softer. "You're different," I said. "I'm trying to be. Keep trying." He left, and I sat alone with my thoughts. The king found me there an hour later. "You look troubled," he said. "I don't know what to do with this," I admitted. Part of me wants to hold on to the anger, to never let him off the hook for what he did. But another part of me sees that he's actually changing, and I don't know which part to listen to. "Listen to both," the king suggested. "You can acknowledge his change without forgetting his past. You can give him opportunities without giving him forgiveness. The two aren't mutually exclusive." "Is that what you did? With me?" He smiled. "When you first arrived, I saw you as a threat, a complication, someone who would make my life harder. But over time, I saw who you really were. And eventually, I fell in love with that person. But it didn't happen overnight. So you're saying give it time? I'm saying trust your instincts. You'll know when, if, forgiveness is right. Until then, you're doing exactly what you should, giving him a chance while protecting yourself." That night, I dreamed about the river, about drowning. But this time, when I went under, Gonzalo was there. Not pushing me down, but pulling me up. Saving me instead of trying to kill me. I woke with tears on my face, not sure what the dream meant. Maybe it was my mind processing the impossibility of who he'd been versus who he was becoming. Or maybe it was hope. Dangerous, fragile hope that people could change. that even the worst of us could become better. I didn't know, but I was willing to wait and see. Chapter 13. The Heir Question. 9 months into my Luna reign, the whispers started. At first, they were quiet, passing comments from visiting pack members, concerned questions from elder council members. But as months passed without me conceiving, the whispers grew louder. Perhaps an Omega can't carry an Alpha's child. Maybe the moon goddess doesn't approve of this match. The blind Luna is barren. I heard them all. Every cruel speculation, every doubt, and each one felt like a knife between my ribs. The council called a formal meeting 3 weeks before the incident that would change everything. They sat around the great table, and I felt their collective disapproval like a physical weight. Elder Marcus spoke first. Luna Isadora, the kingdom needs an heir. It's been nearly a year since your claiming ceremony. We must discuss options. Options? The king's voice was dangerous. What options? Perhaps a second wife, another elder suggested carefully. One who could provide... The king's fist slammed on the table. There will be no second wife. My mate is Luna Isadora. Any suggestion otherwise is treason. Your Majesty, we mean no disrespect, Marcus said. But the kingdom's stability requires loyalty to its Luna, the king interrupted. This meeting is over. But the damage was done. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop the tears. They think I'm broken, I whispered. Maybe they're right. You're not broken. I'm blind. I'm Omega. And now, apparently, I can't even do the one thing a Luna is supposed to do. Give you an heir. I turned away from him. Maybe you should consider their suggestion. He pulled me back, fierce. Listen to me. I don't want another wife. I don't want another child if it's not with you. And if we never have children, we have Dorotheos. That's enough. But, no, I chose you. I will keep choosing you. Every day for the rest of our lives. He pressed his forehead to mine. If children come, wonderful. If they don't, we'll still be happy. Do you understand? I wanted to believe him, but the doubts the council had planted wouldn't leave me alone. The truth was more complicated than anyone knew. I wasn't barren. I'd been preventing pregnancy. Using herbs the palace healer had quietly provided at my request, because I was terrified. 3 nights later, I finally admitted it to the king. I'm scared, I said. We were alone in our chambers, and my voice shook. I'm scared to have children. Why? What if they're born like me? Blind, Omega, seen as worthless? What if I can't protect them? Tears streamed down my face. What if I'm a terrible mother because I never had a good one? What if I mess them up the way I'm messed up? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, when Dorotheos was born, I was terrified too. He was so small, so fragile. And when Selene died, I thought, I've already failed as a parent. How can I raise him alone? But you did. Not well, not for years. I was distant, cold, too buried in grief to see what he needed. He touched my face gently, but eventually, with help, I figured it out. And you know what I learned? Perfect parents don't exist. The best we can do is love our children fiercely and keep trying to do better. What if our child is blind? Then they'll have a mother who understands, who can teach them it's not a weakness, but a different way of experiencing the world. They'll never feel worthless the way you did. What if they're Omega? Then they'll grow up in a kingdom where Omegas have rights and protection, where their mother is Luna and proves every day that Omega doesn't mean less than. He kissed my forehead. You've already started changing the world for them. I'm still scared. So am I. That's parenthood, terror and hope mixed together. But we'll face it together. I stopped taking the herbs that night. If pregnancy happened, it happened. If it didn't, we'd face that together too. 2 months passed. Nothing. The whispers grew more vicious. Lady Octavia's supporters, even imprisoned she had allies, spread rumors that the king should annul the Luna bond on grounds of infertility. Then one morning I woke feeling different. Wrong. I barely made it to the chamber pot before vomiting. "Are you ill?" the king asked, concerned. I wasn't sure. The sickness continued for 3 days. Finally, the palace healer examined me. "Congratulations, Luna," she said with a smile in her voice. "You're pregnant." I couldn't breathe. Joy and terror warred inside me. "How far along?" "About 6 weeks. Early yet, but strong. The baby's heartbeat is steady." When I told the king, he picked me up and spun me around, laughing for the first time in weeks. "We're having a baby," he said, wonder in his voice. "We're actually having a baby." The palace erupted in celebration. The council was appeased. The whispers turned to congratulations. But I was still terrified. That terror intensified a week later when an ancient seer requested an audience. She was old, older than anyone I'd met, and her voice carried a strange resonance. "Luna Isadora," she said. "I've had a vision of your child." My blood ran cold. What kind of vision? "Your daughter, yes, a girl, will be born with sight in one eye and blindness in the other. She'll walk between worlds, seeing what others miss. She'll be the bridge between the seen and unseen, the physical and spiritual." "Half blind," I whispered. "Not fully sighted, not fully blind." "She'll be unique," the seer corrected. "Special. And she'll be exactly what this kingdom needs. The moon goddess has blessed her." After the seer left, I sat in stunned silence. "A girl who's half blind," I finally said to the king, "like she'll be caught between 2 worlds." "Or like she'll be the best of both," he said. "She'll understand what you experience, but she'll also see things you can't. She'll be perfectly suited to bridge the gap between different wolves." "You're not disappointed?" "Disappointed? Isadora, we're having a daughter. A child who will be unique and powerful and loved beyond measure. How could I be disappointed?" His certainty helped, but I was still afraid. The pregnancy was difficult from the start. I was sick constantly for the first 3 months. Then the sickness faded, replaced by exhaustion so deep I could barely function. The healers worried. My years of malnourishment had left their mark. "You need to rest more," the head healer said. "Your body is working very hard to grow this baby. If you push too much, you risk both your health and the child's." I tried to rest, but being Luna didn't stop just because I was pregnant. There were still disputes to settle, policies to implement, duties to perform. 4 months into the pregnancy, I collapsed during a council meeting. I woke in my bed with the healer and the king hovering anxiously. "The baby?" I asked immediately. "Fine, strong heartbeat." "But you, Luna, are not fine. You're exhausted, undernourished, despite eating well, and your body is struggling." The healer's voice was stern. "If you continue pushing yourself like this, you could lose the baby. Or worse. What do you suggest?" "Bed rest, for the remainder of your pregnancy." "That's months. I can't just stop being Luna for months." "You can," the king said firmly. "And you will. I'll handle the urgent matters. Dorotheos can help with diplomatic issues. Beta Theron will manage the day-to-day. You will rest." I wanted to argue, but the fear of losing the baby was stronger than my pride. The next 5 months were the longest of my life. Confined to bed, I could only listen to reports of kingdom matters instead of handling them myself. I felt useless, helpless, like the invisible Omega I'd been before. But the baby grew strong. I felt her moving inside me. Small flutters at first, then stronger kicks. And every time I felt her move, the terror eased a little. Dorotheos visited every day. He was 15 now, almost a man. He'd sit beside my bed and tell me everything happening in the kingdom. "There was a dispute over grazing lands today," he said one afternoon. "Father wanted to rule in favor of the stronger pack, but I suggested we survey the land first. Turns out the soil on one side is much richer, so we divided it based on soil quality instead of size. Both packs were happy. That was good thinking. I learned it from you. You always say to look beyond the obvious solution. He paused. I'm going to be a brother soon. That's strange to think about. Are you worried? A little? What if she doesn't like me? She'll love you. You're going to be a wonderful big brother. I hope so. I never had siblings before. Well, except you. He squeezed my hand. You're like my mother. You know that, right? Not replacing my birth mother, but you're my mother in all the ways that matter. Tears filled my eyes. That's the kindest thing anyone's ever said to me. It's true. And this baby, my sister, she's lucky. She's going to have the best mother in the kingdom. I wanted to believe him. But the fear still lingered. What if I failed? What if I wasn't enough? 8 months into the pregnancy, the contractions started. Chapter 14. The Birth and the Betrayal. The contractions came in the middle of the night, weeks earlier than expected. I woke the king, trying not to panic. Something's wrong. It's too soon. He called for the healers immediately. Within minutes, our chambers filled with people. The head healer examined me, her face growing more concerned. The baby's coming, she said. We can't stop it now. But it's too early. Babies come when they're ready. We'll do everything we can. The labor was brutal. Hours stretched into what felt like days. Pain consumed me, wave after wave. The healers worked frantically, their whispered conversations not quite quiet enough to hide their worry. She's bleeding too much. The baby's positioned wrong. We may need to choose. No. The king's voice cut through my delirium. You'll save them both. Your Majesty, we'll do our best, but if it comes to a choice, there is no choice. Save them both. Through my pain, I tried to speak. Marinos, don't, he said fiercely. Don't you dare tell me to choose. You're both surviving this. Both of you. His certainty gave me something to hold on to. I pushed through the exhaustion, through pain worse than anything I'd experienced. The healers encouraged me, guided me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a baby's cry pierced the air. A girl, the head healer announced, relief clear in her voice. A healthy girl. They placed her in my arms moments later. My hands mapped her tiny face, her perfect fingers. One eye opened. I felt the movement against my palm. Silver gray, someone said, like her father's. The other eye remained closed, clouded with the same blindness I carried. Daciana, I whispered. The name we'd chosen. Bright, shining star. The king leaned over us both, and I heard the tears in his voice. She's perfect. The next hours passed in a blur. Healers monitored me closely. I'd lost a lot of blood, they said, but I would recover. Dorotheos met his sister and cried. The palace celebrated, but I was exhausted beyond measure. They eventually took Daciana to the nursery so I could rest, promising to bring her back for feeding in a few hours. I slept deeply, dreamlessly. I woke to shouting. The king was gone. So was Dorotheos. I could hear running footsteps, raised voices, chaos in the corridors outside our chambers. What's happening? I called out. A guard entered. Luna, you need to stay here. There's been an incident. What kind of incident? He hesitated. The princess. She's missing. The world stopped. Missing? What do you mean missing? Someone took her from the nursery. We're searching now. I was out of bed before he finished speaking. My body screamed in protest. I'd just given birth hours ago, but terror gave me strength. Luna, you shouldn't be up. My daughter is missing. I pushed past him, following the sound of shouting voices. Someone tried to guide me, but I shook them off. I knew these hallways. I'd walked them blind for over a year. I found the king in the nursery, his rage palpable. How did this happen? He was demanding. There were guards posted. They were drugged, Your Majesty, Beta Theron said grimly. Someone put something in their wine. They didn't even wake when the intruder entered. Who? Who would dare? We found this. Theron's voice carried a note I'd never heard before. Fear. It was left in the crib. Silence. Then the king's voice, deadly quiet. Dimitri. My legs nearly gave out. But he's in prison. He can't. He escaped, Theron said. 3 days ago. We were tracking him, but he moved faster than expected. This was his revenge. A note. Dimitri had left a note. The king read it aloud, his voice shaking with fury. You took my wolf, my power, my life. Now I take what you love most. The blind Luna's daughter will never see her first sunrise. Neither I will save her from what's coming. The threat was clear. He was going to kill Daciana. My hours-old baby. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My daughter, my perfect, tiny daughter, in the hands of a man who'd murdered Celine and tried to kill me. We're organizing search parties, Theron said. Every guard, every tracker. It's not enough, I interrupted. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Cold, determined. He has hours of head start. By the time we organize parties and track him, it could be too late. What are you suggesting? The king asked. I'm going after him. Now. Isadora, you just gave birth. You can barely stand. My daughter is out there with a murderer. I'll crawl if I have to. I turned toward where I sensed Theron. Give me weapons, a fast horse, and someone who can track. Luna, this is madness. This is my child, my voice broke. I spent my whole life being helpless, being the one who needed protecting. Not anymore. Not when it's her. The king was silent for a long moment. Then, Theron, saddle the horses. Get our best tracker. We leave in 10 minutes. Your Majesty, you're needed here to coordinate. My daughter is out there. I'm going. His voice left no room for argument. Dorotheos will coordinate here. He's capable. We left within minutes. The tracker, a female wolf named Kira with an extraordinary sense of smell, led the way. I rode behind her, the king beside me. Every movement sent pain through my body, but I ignored it. Pain didn't matter. Only Daciana mattered. Kira picked up Dimitri's scent quickly. He'd headed north, toward the mountains, toward the border territories where he could disappear. We rode hard for hours. Dawn broke, painting the sky in colors I couldn't see. My body screamed for rest, but I pushed harder. There, Kira said suddenly. I smell smoke and milk. Baby's milk. We'd found them. The king wanted to plan, to strategize, but I was done planning. He has my daughter, I said. I'm getting her back. Now. I dismounted and moved toward the smoke scent. The king and Kira followed. We found a small camp in a cave, smart as it would mask heat and sound. Dimitri sat by a small fire, Daciana bundled in blankets beside him. She was crying, a sound that tore my heart apart. I wondered how long it would take you, Dimitri said when we entered. He had a knife in his hand. The blind Luna tracking through the wilderness. Impressive. Give me my daughter, I said. Or what? You'll strip my wolf again? Too late for that. He gestured to Daciana. Beautiful child. Shame about the eye. Although I suppose that runs in the family. The king started forward, but I held up a hand, stopping him. Why are you doing this? I asked Dimitri. Revenge? Against a newborn baby who never hurt you? You took everything from me. My wolf, my freedom, my future. This is justice. This is cowardice, I said. You hide behind an infant because you're too weak to face me directly. I'm not weak. You murdered a pregnant woman because you couldn't beat her mate in fair combat. You kidnapped a baby because you can't accept that you lost. That's the definition of weak. His face twisted with rage. You know nothing about... I know you're afraid, I interrupted. Afraid that even without your wolf, Even stripped of power, you still can't win. You can only hurt those weaker than you. That's pathetic." He lunged forward, knife raised. Not toward me, toward Daciana. Everything slowed down. The king was too far away. Kira was positioned wrong. It was just me, between Dimitri and my daughter. I moved on instinct. 14 years of combat training, of learning to fight blind, took over. I intercepted his knife hand, twisted, used his momentum against him. We crashed to the ground. We fought in the dirt and firelight. He had the advantage of strength and desperation. I had the advantage of having nothing left to lose. He got the knife to my throat. "You'll watch your daughter die." "No," I said. And I headbutted him with everything I had. His grip loosened. I grabbed the knife and drove it into his chest. Not to kill, to disable, to stop him from ever threatening my family again. He collapsed, blood spreading across his shirt. The king was there instantly, securing him, making sure he couldn't move. I crawled to Daciana, picked her up with shaking hands. She was still crying, but she was alive, unharmed. "I have you," I whispered. "Mama has you. You're safe." She quieted at my voice, recognition, even hours old. The king came to us, wrapped his arms around us both. "It's over. You did it." I held our daughter close, my body finally giving in to exhaustion and relief. We brought Dimitri back to the palace. He survived long enough to stand trial for his crimes, all of them. Celine's murder, the kidnapping, everything. He was executed within the week. Justice was truly served this time. But the event changed me. For days after, I couldn't let Daciana out of my sight. I was terrified someone else would take her. The king understood. He felt the same. "We can't live in fear," he finally said. "That's not the life we want for her." "I know. But every time I put her down, I remember her crying in that cave." Tears streamed down my face. "I almost lost her. Hours after she was born, I almost lost her. But you didn't. Because you're the strongest person I know." He kissed my forehead. "You tracked a criminal through the wilderness hours after giving birth. You fought him and won. You saved our daughter's life. I was terrified the entire time. I know. That's what makes it brave." Slowly, day by day, the fear eased. Daciana thrived, growing stronger, and I learned to trust that the world wasn't always trying to take her from me, but I never forgot how close we'd come to losing everything. Chapter 15. The Kingdom's Transformation. Daciana's first year changed everything, not just for our family, but for the entire kingdom. Because after nearly losing her, after realizing how vulnerable even royal children could be, I became determined to ensure no parent would experience what I'd experienced. The Luna's protection laws were my first major initiative after recovering from childbirth. They were comprehensive, aggressive, and controversial. "Every child, regardless of rank, deserves protection," I told the council. "Every parent deserves to know their children are safe." The laws included severe penalties for child endangerment, mandatory reporting of abuse, and resources for families in crisis. But the most controversial provision was this: any wolf who harmed a child would be stripped of their wolf permanently and exiled, the same punishment I'd given Dimitri. "That's too harsh," several council members protested. "Stripping a wolf is essentially a death sentence." "Harming a child is a death sentence, for the child's spirit if not their body." I kept my voice level but firm. I was that child once, abused, neglected, nearly killed. If these laws had existed then, maybe I wouldn't have spent 22 years believing I was worthless. The debate raged for weeks. Some called me too soft, too emotional. Others said I was too harsh, letting my personal trauma dictate policy. But the Omega families supported me overwhelmingly. They knew what it was like to have no protection, no recourse. They'd lived it. The laws passed. Barely. And within months, reports started coming in. Children being removed from abusive situations. Families getting help before crisis hit. Omegas standing up to alphas who'd previously been untouchable. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. But it was progress. My second initiative was the Luna's sanctuary. If the protection laws were about preventing harm, the sanctuary was about healing it. I purchased a large property on the palace grounds and converted it into a shelter. Any Omega, adult or child, who was being abused or was in danger could come there. No questions asked, no judgment given. They received housing, food, education, and training. Those who wanted to could learn trades, combat, healing arts. Those who needed to could simply rest and recover. Gonzalo helped me set it up. He'd been working in the palace for over a year now, and his transformation had been real. He worked with the young Omegas in the sanctuary, taught them self-defense, shared his story as a warning. I was the worst kind of alpha, he told them during one session I observed. I believed strength meant dominance, that being alpha meant being cruel to those beneath me. But real strength is protecting the vulnerable, not exploiting them. One young Omega girl asked him, "Why did you change?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because I saw what my cruelty created. My sister, your Luna, survived everything I did to her and became someone magnificent, while I became nothing. That was the wake-up call I needed." After the session, Gonzalo found me in the hallway. "You were listening," he said. "I was." And you're doing good work." I paused. "Thank you for helping them." "It's the least I can do," he hesitated. Can I meet her? Daciana? I know I have no right to ask, but she's my niece, my only family." I'd been waiting for this request, dreading it. "Not yet," I said carefully. "You've changed, Gonzalo. I see that. But Daciana is barely a year old, and I'm still learning to trust you around vulnerable people. Maybe when she's older. When I'm sure." He nodded, accepting the rejection with grace. "I understand. Thank you for considering it." As he walked away, the king appeared beside me. "He's really changed," he observed. "I know, but trust takes time, especially when it comes to my daughter." Fair enough. Daciana herself was thriving. At 1 year old, she was curious and fearless. Her unique vision, one eye seeing clearly, one clouded, gave her an unusual perspective. She could track movement with her seeing eye, while her blind eye seemed to sense things in other ways. The palace seer visited when Daciana turned 1. "The child is special," she said. "Her blind eye sees truth. Lies appear as darkness to her. Sincerity glows with light." "She can see lies?" I asked, fascinated and concerned. "Not in words, in people. She'll know when someone means harm or good. It's a gift, though it will be a burden too. Seeing truth constantly can be exhausting." It explained something I'd noticed. Daciana would cry around certain people and laugh with others, with no apparent pattern. Except now there was a pattern. She cried around people with hidden agendas, people who smiled while plotting. She laughed with genuine people, even if they were gruff or stern. "She'll need guidance," the seer continued, "to understand her gift, to not let it overwhelm her." "I'll help her," I promised. "I know what it's like to be different, to see the world in a way others don't." Meanwhile, Dorotheos was preparing to take on more responsibility. At 17, he was nearly ready to lead. The king had begun transitioning some duties to him, testing his readiness. One evening, Dorotheos came to our private chambers looking troubled. "What is it?" the king asked. "There's a situation. A pack leader was caught abusing his Omega servants. Under Luna Isidora's laws, he should be stripped of his wolf and exiled." "Then enforce the law," I said. "That's the problem. He's Alpha Marcus. He controls the Eastern Territories. If we strip his wolf, his entire pack might rebel. They're loyal to him, not to us." This was the test I'd been dreading. The first time my laws would threaten political stability. "What do you think we should do?" the king asked Dorotheos. "Politically, we should compromise. Give him a lesser punishment to keep the peace. Dorotheos looked at me. But that would undermine everything Luna Isidora has built. It would prove that laws only apply to the powerless. You're right, I said, on both counts. It's a terrible choice. But here's what I've learned about being Luna. Sometimes you have to choose between what's easy and what's right. And every time you choose easy, you lose a piece of your integrity. So we strip his wolf? Dorotheos asked. We enforce the law, I corrected. Exactly as it's written. And if his pack rebels, we deal with that. But we don't compromise on protecting children. Ever. The king agreed. We sent a contingent to arrest Alpha Marcus and carry out the sentence. His pack did protest. Some threatened rebellion, but something unexpected happened. The Omegas in his pack, the ones he'd abused, spoke up, publicly testified to his crimes, and when given the choice between following an abusive Alpha or joining a kingdom where they had rights, most chose us. Alpha Marcus's pack dissolved. His supporters fled to other territories. His victims found safety in the sanctuary. It wasn't bloodless. There were skirmishes, brief, violent outbursts. But compared to what could have happened, it was manageable. You were right, Dorotheos said afterward. Doing the right thing was worth the cost. The cost would have been higher if we'd compromised, I said. Every Omega watching would have learned that laws don't protect them. That power still trumps justice. We couldn't afford that lesson. My reforms continued. Education initiatives that ensured every pup could read and write, regardless of rank. Economic support for struggling packs. Medical resources for territories that couldn't afford healers. Some called it radical. Others called it Luna Isidora's revolution. I just called it making the kingdom I wished I'd grown up in. 2 years into my Luna reign, I received a letter from my old pack, the one Gonzalo had once led. The new Alpha was requesting an audience. She arrived a week later. Alpha Elena, a fierce female who'd taken over after Gonzalo's departure. Luna Isidora, she said formally. I've come to thank you. Thank me? For removing Gonzalo, for proving an Omega could lead, for showing us we didn't have to accept the way things were. She smiled. Half our pack are Omegas now. They came from other territories where they were abused. We've become a sanctuary pack, and it's thriving. Tears filled my eyes. My old pack, the place that had tormented me for 22 years, had become safe for Omegas. That's wonderful. It's because of you. Your example, your laws, your refusal to accept that Omegas are less than. You've changed everything. After she left, the king found me crying on our balcony. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I wiped my eyes. The pack that tried to break me is now protecting others like me. That's everything I wanted. He held me close. You did that. You changed them by changing yourself first, by refusing to stay broken. We changed them, I corrected. All of us. You, me, Dorotheos, even Gonzalo in his way. We proved there's a better way to live. And we're just getting started, he said. He was right, because that night Dorotheos announced he'd found his mate. Her name was Katerina. She was a warrior from the northern packs, strong and fierce and perfect for him. But more importantly, she was Omega. An Omega Crown Prince's mate? Some council members protested. That's unprecedented. So was a blind Omega Luna, Dorotheos said calmly. But Luna Isidora proved it works. Katerina and I will do the same. His choice sent shockwaves through the kingdom, but it also sent a message. The old rules were truly gone. Rank didn't determine worth anymore. Progress was happening. Slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. And I was proud to be part of it. Chapter 16. The Luna's Greatest Test. 4 years after I became Luna, everything I'd built nearly came crashing down. It started with a young Omega named Lyra arriving at the palace gates. She was beaten, terrified, and barely conscious. The guards brought her directly to me. "What's your name?" I asked gently as healers treated her wounds. "Lyra." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You're safe now. Can you tell me what happened?" What she told me turned my blood cold. There was a coalition forming. Traditional alphas from various territories who opposed my reforms. They called themselves the Old Order, and they wanted things to go back to how they were before, when omegas had no rights, when strength meant dominance, when the weak existed to serve the strong. They'd been recruiting quietly, building support, waiting for the right moment to strike. Lyra had overheard their plans because her alpha, one of the coalition leaders, thought she was too stupid and beaten down to be a threat. "They're planning something big," Lyra said, trembling. "An attack. Not just on the palace, but on all the sanctuaries. They want to destroy everything you've built, Luna. Make an example of what happens when omegas get ideas above their station." "When?" the king demanded. "I don't know exactly. Soon. Within the month." We called an emergency council meeting. The situation was dire. "We should arrest the coalition leaders immediately," one advisor suggested. "On what evidence?" another countered. "The word of one omega? They'll claim she's lying, making it up for attention. It'll look like Luna Isadora is paranoid, seeing threats where none exist." "So we do nothing?" I asked incredulously. "We gather evidence, build a case, then strike." "And if they attack before we're ready?" No one had an answer for that. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the omegas in the sanctuaries, all the children we'd protected. They were targets now because I'd given them hope, because I'd taught them they mattered. "This is my fault," I told the king. "I pushed too hard, too fast. Now they're all in danger because of me." "No, they're in danger because evil people want to maintain power through cruelty. That's not on you." "But, listen to me." He gripped my shoulders. "You gave them hope, yes, but you also gave them protection, education, strength. You didn't make them targets. You made them harder targets. There's a difference. What if it's not enough? Then we make it enough." Over the next week, we prepared, quietly reinforced security at all sanctuaries, trained omega fighters to defend themselves, gathered intelligence on the coalition, but the attack came sooner than expected. It was the middle of the night when the alarm sounded. The main sanctuary, the largest one, housing over 100 omegas, was under attack. We mobilized immediately. The king led the main force. Dorotheos took a contingent to reinforce other vulnerable locations. And I went to the sanctuary itself. "Isadora, you should stay here," the king said. "It's too dangerous." "Those are my omegas, my sanctuary. I'm going." I arrived to chaos. The sanctuary was burning. Omegas were fleeing, screaming. Coalition wolves were attacking anyone they could find, trying to kill or capture as many as possible. I shifted into combat mode. The training I'd done for years took over. I couldn't see the attackers, but I could hear them, smell them, sense them through vibration and air movement. I fought alongside the sanctuary guards, protecting omegas as they evacuated. My blindness was actually an advantage in the smoke and darkness. I wasn't disoriented like the sighted wolves were. But there were too many attackers. We were being overwhelmed. Then something unexpected happened. The omegas fought back. Not all of them. Many were terrified, focused only on escaping. But some had been training in the sanctuary's combat programs. They'd learned to defend themselves, and now they used those skills. I heard Lyra's voice shouting orders, coordinating the Omega fighters. Heard others rallying together, protecting the young and weak while the strong fought. The tide began to turn. By the time the king's main force arrived, we'd already pushed the attackers back. The sanctuary was damaged, but not destroyed. Most of the Omegas were safe, and we'd captured several coalition members. Under interrogation, they revealed everything. Names, plans, the full scope of the conspiracy. It was bigger than we'd thought. Dozens of alphas involved. spread across multiple territories. They were going to kill you, Beta Theron told me after. That was the ultimate goal. Kill Luna Isadora, destroy the sanctuaries, reinstate the old order. They failed, I said simply. Because you taught the Omegas to fight back. Because you gave them strength instead of just protection. The trials took weeks. We had evidence now, confessions, documents, witness testimony. The coalition leaders were stripped of their wolves and exiled. Their packs were given a choice: accept the new order or leave the kingdom. Most stayed, because even the alphas in those packs had started to see the benefits of our reforms. Happier Omegas made for stronger packs. Children who were protected and educated grew into capable adults. Equality wasn't just moral, it was practical. But the attack had shaken me. For days after, I couldn't stop thinking about how close we'd come to losing everything. Lyra found me in the sanctuary one afternoon, overseeing repairs. "Luna, I wanted to thank you," she said. "Thank me? For what?" "For teaching me I'm not worthless. When I first came here, I believed my alpha. I believed I was nothing, just a body to be used." Her voice strengthened. "But you showed me different. You taught me to fight, to read, to think. During the attack, I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a warrior." Tears filled my eyes. "You've always been a warrior. I just helped you see it. That's what you do, though. You help people see what was always there. Their worth, their strength, their potential." She smiled. "That's your real gift, Luna. Not laws or sanctuaries, though those matter. Your real gift is teaching broken people they were never actually broken." After she left, I sat in the damaged sanctuary and cried, not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. This place I'd built, these people I'd helped, they'd saved themselves when it mattered most. That evening, the entire royal family gathered for dinner. Daciana was now 4 years old, bright and perceptive. Dorotheo sat with Katerina, his Omega mate. Gonzalo was there too, still not fully family but no longer an outsider. "Mother," Daciana said suddenly, she'd started calling me that around age 3. "Why were the bad alphas so angry at you?" Out of the mouths of children. "Because I changed things they wanted to stay the same." "But the changes were good." "I think so. But some people don't like change, even when it's good. Especially when it means they can't hurt people anymore." "That's silly," Daciana said matter-of-factly. "Hurting people is wrong." "Yes, it is." "Then they were wrong to be angry. If only all moral questions were so simple, but she wasn't entirely wrong." "You know what I've learned?" I said to the table. "Building something good is hard, protecting it is harder, but the hardest part is accepting that there will always be people who want to tear it down, and you have to keep building anyway." "Inspiring words, Luna," Gonzalo said quietly. "I wish I'd learned them sooner." It was the first time he'd really participated in family conversation. Everyone looked at him, surprised. "I supported the old order once," he continued. "I believed in it. Strength over everything. Alpha dominance. The weak serve the strong. It made sense to me because I was strong. I benefited." He looked at me directly. "I never thought about what it cost people like you. And when I finally did think about it, it was too late. The damage was done." "It's never too late to change," I said. "You're proof of that." "Maybe. But I can never undo what I did. I can only try to do better now." He paused. "I'm proud of you, Isadora. For what you've built. For who you've become. I know I have no right to be proud, but I am anyway." It was the closest he'd come to a full apology. And somehow, it was enough. "Thank you," I said. After dinner, the king and I stood on our balcony, looking over the kingdom. 4 years, he said. 4 years since you became Luna. Look at everything that's changed. We almost lost it all this week. But we didn't. Because what you've built is strong. Built on real foundations, justice, compassion, strength. Those things don't fall easily. I'm still scared, I admitted. Every day I'm scared something will go wrong, that I'll fail, that people will suffer because of my failures. That fear is what makes you a good Luna. The moment you stop being scared is the moment you stop caring. He pulled me close. But you should also celebrate what you've accomplished. You've changed this kingdom fundamentally. In just 4 years, you've made it unrecognizable from what it was. We've changed it, I corrected. All of us together. Yes, but you led the way. You were the one brave enough to imagine something different. As we stood there, I thought about my journey. From the invisible Omega drowning in a river, to the Luna who'd transformed a kingdom. It seemed impossible. Yet here I was. And I wasn't done yet. There was still so much more to do. So much more to change. But for tonight, I let myself feel satisfied with how far we'd come. Tomorrow, the work would continue. But tonight, I celebrated. Epilogue, 10 years later. I stood at the Luna's Sanctuary graduation, listening as Lyra, now running the program, oversaw 50 young wolves completing their training. One graduate approached me. Luna, I came here broken. You helped me see I was never broken at all. Thank you. I smiled. Thank you for having the courage to come. The sanctuary had changed thousands of lives. It was my proudest achievement. At Dorotheos's coronation the following week, he said, "My father taught me strength. My mother, both of them, taught me compassion. That's what this kingdom will be built on." He'd found his own mate. The kingdom's future was secure. Daciana, now 12, had grown into her unique abilities. One eye saw the physical world. One saw emotions and truths. She was training to be a healer, of both physical and emotional wounds. One day the king and I returned to the river where everything began. "I think about this place sometimes," I said. "How close I came to dying. How different everything would be. Fate had other plans. Do you think Celine's at peace? I know she is. She wanted us happy. We are." That night our family gathered for dinner. Not formal, just family. Dorotheos and his mate, Daciana. Friends and found family. I listened to the voices of people I loved, the sounds of home, the life I'd built from nothing. Later, alone in my thoughts, I reflected on my journey. Born blind. Called worthless. Nearly murdered. I'd survived by making myself invisible. Then Celine's wolf chose me, led me to a family I didn't know I needed. I was terrified every step of the way. But I learned that being terrified doesn't mean being weak. It means you're brave enough to keep going, even when you're afraid. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm seen, loved, valued. And every day, I try to help others see their worth too. No matter where you start, you can find your way to something beautiful. You can become more than anyone, including yourself, ever imagined. You just have to survive long enough to see it. When the king entered our bedroom that night, he found me lost in thought. "Where are you?" he asked gently. I smiled, reaching for him. "Right here, right where I belong." And I meant it. After a lifetime of searching, I was finally home. The end.